I think this whole value of respecting what you do and the sports you're in, regardless of what the sport is, it's an important thing that people have to remember, regardless of what they're doing in their life. That you have to respect your colleagues at work. You have to respect the work that you're doing in order to perform at a peak level. And at a professional level, I know when you see professional players, and when you see even junior A players, and people who are looked up to, you see them off of the ice, you see them out of the arena or off of the court. Wow, they're perfect gentlemen. Mm-hmm. Like I mean, you probably know some of your fellow professionals who will be out to kill you when you're on the ice, but then they're your buddy after the game. Yeah. It's just the game, right?
Yeah, and that's a unique camaraderie about hockey. It's always had that. I think also, you're touching on respect. I think we've lost a little bit, playing the American League or playing in the minors teaches you respect, how to respect the game, how to respect fellow players. And now, I was touching on a little bit earlier about us, the league's getting younger, everybody's getting an opportunity. They haven't been able to be in the minors for 2 or 3 years and figure out, hey, I can't run around and do that or I will not survive. And now in the National Hockey League, they're given an opportunity really young, and they haven't learned that respect. And they eventually get it, but a lot of times it takes a few years to get it, and some guys never get it. And in the history of the game, I think that's always been the case. Some guys, cross that line way too often.
Do you think the fact that you were up and down with the American League for a few years, did you learn something when you were down in there?
Yeah, I think for sure. Yeah, I think you learn.
You spent the better part of what, 4 years?
Yeah, maybe.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah, 3 years, anyways. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you were going
3 or 4. Yeah, you're right.
In Washington and Portland for a while.
Yeah.
So you weren't just thrown into the NHL.
No. Especially Washington that time was an older team, which always, when you're around older teams, they teach you respect because they've been around and they know what the right things are on the ice, the right things to do. I was very fortunate growing up. I had some great coaches that really instilled that value and what are the right things to do. You don't get all of it. I mean, we're still kids, but we were taught what was right and what was wrong on the ice. And you're very, very fortunate that I had that.
So you just happened to be one of these kids that had the talent and made a few of the right moves and ended up being able to do it.
Well, I'd be lying if I was always, respectful. Or, I think when it came to things like if a guy's in a vulnerable position, I don't think I've ever done that.
There's a good point, and I think it's a point that deserves more conversation. That when we talk about parents who are acting up in the stands, or parents who are abusive, or where you see these incidents where a parent might attack a referee, or where you see a player do something that's just unbecoming, it doesn't mean that that's who they are. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right, yes.
You've been through that at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
Can you get so caught up in a sport that you might do something that you regret after, but you almost didn't have any control at the time?
For sure. Yeah, we see it every day. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about the guys that are great guys after the game, and during the game they might cross that line. I think you try to, I think pro athletes in general, we have to be aware of that all the time. We try our best. But I think for parents, for me, they're the role model. They're the ones that we can all lose. If you lose, you're the one that's going to teach respect to your kid. It's not right. It's going to come from coaches. It'll come from. But if you're acting up and acting that way, then to me it sends the wrong message to your son and to the rest of your team or group of kids that you're working with or around all the time.
So how does a person get their image back if they lose it once?
I think you do the right things. I mean, it's like everything else. You make a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes, but you get yourself back in line and you do the right things. And the right things aren't acting that way. And if you hopefully they realize it and correct themselves. And an apology is always, I think, goes a long way in those sort of things to the kids, to the official, to whoever they're losing on. And it takes a big man to apologize, but we all make mistakes. And I think for me that should be the right way of doing it.
I'm looking forward to getting into discussion sometime in the future about the fact that there's an onus on the parents who are not misbehaving to accept the apology.
Mm-hmm.
Not just to kind of attack the person and say, well, you're a bad person and you're always a bad person, you shouldn't have done that, so now that's your image.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so easy in competitive sports. I explained to people when we had a sporting goods store for a while that it was the funniest thing in the world. When the kids first started playing hockey, their fathers would kind of buy all the equipment and get the skates and everything, the little atoms and types and that. The year that they hit body contact, mothers came. It was just unbelievable. I mean, if you weren't sure what level that the kid was in, if the mother was there, you knew they were in body contact probably for the first time, because they were really concerned about getting the protection. And when you go to tournaments, you get a season compressed into 3 days, where every game is like the last game. It's like the 7th game of the playoff. And I've told people that sometimes when you get into tournaments, you've got that intensity. Your emotions can just overtake you. And at that point, when you're back into the regular season the following week, you're a completely different person. Mm-hmm. And we have to stop focusing on those negative moments and say, well, that's what the sport is like. Look what the sport's doing. It's like, well, no, let's look at the whole thing. But for whatever reason, the media is really focusing on the negative, and everybody is starting to feel that that's what sport is all about. And I think it's having an effect when kids hit 13, 14.
I agree.
They're getting out of competitive sports. How did you make it through? Because you were playing at a higher level?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think I just enjoyed, I just loved the game. I kind of, we talked about it a little bit earlier.
So the passion kept you?
The passion kept me, yeah, and the love, and being around, something that you're around your friends. I mean, at that age is so important that you don't want to miss out on this. I mean, you have so many, when you're in a game and you're in a group, in a team, the bonds that are there are so strong. You don't want to be out of that group. I mean, especially, I was fortunate to grow up almost playing with the same, core of 10 guys every year. You just do not want to miss an opportunity to say, if we lost last year, to redeem ourselves a year later, or just to play with these guys in those trenches of the battles that we're in, and the teamwork that we showed, and we were all close friends. And to me, that is as much of an important thing of playing than anything.
I think a lot of parents may take it the wrong way. I think a lot of parents may look at the kid playing on a team and feel that the kid's in competition with everybody else on the team for ice, or to be the best player, or to get noticed, so that next year they can go up to the next team. The players, though, because you went through it as a player, you're more interested in following the team. And
I think we're all different. I was very fortunate with that was never an issue, or if it was an issue with my parents, it was never brought up to me.
No, I don't think parents do bring it up to kids.
I don't know if they do. Yeah, I mean, I think they do, or they must sense it. There must be something, because there's always that little bit of competition. Yeah. But I was never aware of that. I wanted to be the best player I could be. I wanted to win at every level, every game I played. You're playing to win. I had that competitive nature and juices. I hated losing, especially. Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing.
I think it's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a healthy thing, as long as you can kind of keep it under control. I think I think it was although it could be argued, a worse sport when I was younger, but as I am now. But I think you learn to control it.
It's interesting when you take a look too, because my sons are involved in competitive sports at certain stages, and even in volleyball and things like that. And it's interesting when you take a look at the bond, the team bond. I'll never forget Warren, for example, my middle son, the first year he played, he tried out for the NOHA team. I think he was playing Adams. And he got cut and put in the house there. And it hurt him a lot to get cut. You know Warren.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So, but what happened was, and it really struck me as interesting, and I think it's something, it's a story that I think applies today, is that he was pretty good, and I think they realized they made a mistake. But he was having such a good time on his host league team. He was the best player on the team, and he was, you know, everybody looked up to him. About 10 games into the season, the NLHA coach approached us and asked him to come up. And at the age of, I think he was 10, 9 or 10, he said, no. He said, I'm with my team now. These are my buddies now, and it wouldn't be fair for me to leave them. And I thought, wow, most kids would kill to be on the traveling team, to be able to say they were on it. But he had this bond with his players. Now, as his father, I was probably, oh wow, good. And now you can go up to the NOHA team and I can be an NOHA dad. And he said, no, I'm going to stay here. And he had the best year of his life. They won the championship, and then the following years he made the team, the NOHA teams. But it happened again at high school, where he was in grade 11 and tried out for the senior volleyball team, and got cut from the senior volleyball team. And their juniors had a pretty good team, and he had a chance to go up to the seniors. Said, no thanks, I'm with my team now. The juniors won the city championship and the seniors lost. And it was the second time in his life that he had a chance to play at that elite level that he did play at later on. But he said, no, my team is more important. And what you said about this bonding as you're going through. I mean, if the players are getting it, maybe that's what we just have to get across to parents and coaches and people who are involved. Look, you know what? They're not competing with each other. They're playing as a team. If he gets an extra shift and they win the game, the parents shouldn't come in and complain that they didn't get equal ice time. That the kid that didn't get the equal ice time is probably just happy that they won the game. Right. And to leave them alone.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think they, you know, again, they bring on a lot of that kind of resentment, and all of a sudden, you know, I've seen other kids that resent other players on the team because they're good. And I don't think it's not a natural, it's not for a kid to be naturally jealous or that kind of thing. I think
somebody's got to be feeding them.
It's feeding them, right? Because I think, I know playing hockey, you go to the purest level, go to Tyke, watch the little Tykes play. When they score, the whole bench is happy, you know, and they're all cheering. They're not worried that so-and-so played one extra shift and scored one more goal or two more goals. They're just happy they scored and won the game.
Oh, look at the NHL. I saw a few clips of you guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
and the playoffs to me is the ultimate. You want to see, if you look at every bench, you know, the regular season of course is long and you're all excited, but the playoffs, if you could actually just videotape the bench when they score a big play and you see everybody jumping, that typifies it's a team.
You never lose them.
And you lose sight of all, you know, I mean, in professional sports, everybody's kind of paying attention to what everybody's doing. There's always little competitions in-house, but when all the marbles are down and things are happening, that's when you find out how strong of a team you are, and you look at that picture and you see them, how joyous they are. Now, to me, that's hockey at the purest form.
I guess when you take a look at professional sports, what people have to remember is that players are getting paid for what they've done in the past. Yeah. Like your salary is based on what you've done in the past, not what you've done in the future.
Exactly.
That's how you raise your your standards.
And it's up to you to continue that performance if you.
Staying healthy. I mean, you were able to stay healthy. One of the big concerns that parents have and most people in sports have today is that a lot of the younger kids are looking for ways for advantages. They're looking for some kind of drugs or some kind of growth hormones or something that will make them stronger and able to survive. I mean, you're playing at the NHL. I mean, you're not a small guy, but when you're on the ice now, there's some towering players out there, like 6'1" is not a.
No, it's not big anymore.
Big
Small.
anymore.
Yeah, almost still small. Yeah, you see guys at 6'5", and usually, you know, when I first broke in, those were a little bit of the clumsy guys. Now you see them, and they're as skilled as anybody in the league. Some of those guys,
And they're powerful.
yeah, very powerful. Yeah.
Do you, and I mean, that's at the elite level. As you're moving up, sometimes the pressure on 13, 14, 15-year-olds to get into a position where they can be considered to take it to the next level. I think that's the fear that a lot of these younger guys are looking and saying, well, you know, they must be taking something. They must be doing this because they're reporting this. And it's like, it's almost encouraging some of these kids that might feel they just need that extra advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see much of that when you were growing up, going through the minors, or was it just not there at that point?
I'm sure it was there. I mean, you'd be ignorant to say that it was never there. I'm sure there was a little bit. It was never visible. It was never seen or even talked about.
So it's not like you got a little cabinet in your dressing room where there's all kinds of drugs and everything. Like it's not rampant.
No. I don't think hockey is you know, obviously has effects on everything, but you know, I don't know how much it's going to help or not. But like I said, I'd be ignorant to say that I'm sure there was some guys that did.
But you've never had to, and you've missed so few games in your career.